The incessant ticking of my office clock seemed to echo passing days, much like the rhythm of my life. Gina, my college friend, had become my confidant in navigating the intricate maze of adulthood. We had shared laughter, tears, and, lately, the saga of her tumultuous relationship with her mother-in-law, Lana. Gina and Rick, her husband, had created a cozy nest in a house that served as both a haven and her workplace. The proximity to Lana's residence added an unexpected layer of complexity to their lives. Lana, widowed 5 years ago, had made it her mission to visit frequently, and with each visit, she brought along a barrage of unsolicited opinions that infiltrated every corner of Gina's existence. At first, Gina tolerated Lana's comments, dismissing them as harmless eccentricities. After all, Lana was family, and family was supposed to be complicated. But as Lana continued to critique every aspect of Gina's life, her cooking, her cleaning, and even her job as a data analyst, patience wore thin. Rick, a kind soul averse to confrontation, remained silent despite Gina's pleas for him to address his mother's relentless meddling. It was clear that he struggled to muster the courage to stand up to Lana, leaving Gina feeling frustrated and unheard. And so, Gina, armed with a resilient spirit and a touch of mischief, hatched a plan to teach Lana a lesson she wouldn't soon forget. The seeds of Gina's malicious compliance were sown during one of Lana's visits. A seemingly innocent comment about the blandness of Gina's baked chicken served as the catalyst for her ingenious plan. Instead of engaging in a heated argument or a passive, aggressive exchange, Gina simply nodded in agreement and decided to play Lana's game. For the next 2 weeks, Gina cooked elaborate meals only for herself and Rick. When Lana visited, she found no plate waiting for her at the table. Gina smiled, relishing the anticipation of Lana's reaction. The plan extended beyond the kitchen. Lana had criticized Gina's job, claiming her home office resembled a game room. In response, Gina refrained from buying Lana anything she requested and refused to lend her money. The 2 weeks of withholding culinary delights and financial favors proved to be a powerful strategy. When Lana returned to Gina's table, it wasn't with the same air of superiority. Instead, she cautiously approached the dishes, as though testing the waters before indulging. Gina noticed the shift in Lana's behavior but remained steadfast in her silent rebellion. As the weeks passed, Gina continued her strategic compliance, withholding various aspects of her hospitality and generosity whenever Lana voiced disapproval. It became a game of cat and mouse with Gina in control of the strings. The once overbearing mother-in-law began to tread lightly, realizing that her opinions had consequences. The strategy wasn't without its challenges. Gina and Rick had their fair share of arguments as he grappled with the unexpected turn of events. Yet, as the weeks unfolded, Rick found his voice, finally confronting his mother about the toxicity of her unsolicited advice. A heartfelt apology followed, along with a commitment to change. In the end, the tale of Gina's malicious compliance became a humorous anecdote shared among friends. Lana, having learned the consequences of her actions, became a more behaved visitor. The frequency of her visits dwindled, and the once constant stream of critiques transformed into a more tolerable trickle. Gina's journey from frustration to empowerment revealed the power of subtle rebellion. Sometimes, compliance takes unexpected forms, and in this case, it was a recipe for change. The ticking of the office clock continued, but the echoes of Lana's once persistent opinions had faded, leaving behind a newfound harmony in Gina and Rick's home. Yeah, let me tell you about the chaos that's been my life lately. First off, I'm no Yankee, no sir. I ain't sitting pretty in the land of Uncle Sam. I'm a wanderer from town where folks know each other by the way their dog barks. Call me Lily, 34, and a mama to a little genius named Max. Oh, did I mention Max has a dash of autism? Not that it matters, but it does add a bit of spice to the tale. So here I am, in this new hood where nobody knows the curve of my smile or the fact that I make a mean apple pie. Ain't easy breaking into a community where everyone's already got their own claque, and Max's new school. Don't even get me started on that circus. The other day, I tried chatting up some soccer moms, and let's just say I got looks that could freeze hell. Maybe it's the way I say pop instead of soda, or the fact that I drive a beat-up minivan. I don't know, but it's like I've got outsider written all over me. And Max, bless his little heart, is having a time of it too. He's sharp as a tack, but sometimes he's off in his own world, lost in thought about galaxies far, far away. His teachers say it's his unique perspective. Yeah, right. Try telling that to the moms who give me the side eye. When he starts talking about black holes during PTA meetings, it ain't easy being the new kid on the block, especially when your kid's got quirks that some folks just don't get. But hey, we're going to roll with the punches because that's how we do it in Lily's world. Now, let me tell you about the day my sweet Max came home with a bump on his noggin. I'm not one to flip my lid, but when it comes to my boy, well, that's a different story. Max walks in, a little off kilter, and I notice this tiny bruise on his head. I'm like, hey, buddy, what happened at school today? And he drops this bomb on me. Ms. Karen, the teacher, supposedly tossed a chair in his direction. Hold up, rewind. Did I hear that right? My kid, the one who's got more curiosity than a cat, telling me his teacher treated him like a human dartboard? I kept my cool, nodded like I was discussing the weather, but inside I was boiling. Ms. Karen, we gotta talk. Next morning, I wake up ready to rock and roll. Ain't no way I'm letting Miss Karen off the hook for what she did to Max. My blood's boiling hotter than a pot of chili on a summer day. Grab Max, give him a reassuring smile, and we hit the school like a storm on caffeine. We stroll into that building like we own the place, heads held high. But lo and behold, the universe decides to play its twisted games. People point me to Miss Karen's room saying I just missed her. Like, seriously? The one time I'm early to something and she's playing hide and seek? No worries. I put on my detective hat and start gathering intel on this Ms. Karen. Turns out she's the dragon lady of the school. Hard, grumpy, and packing a temper hotter than a jalapeno. It's like I stumbled into a sitcom where the villain is a teacher with a ruler for a sword. I chat up the other teachers, get the lowdown on Miss Karen's reputation. Turns out even the janitor's afraid of her. People tiptoe around her like she's a bomb waiting to explode. Well, guess what? I ain't afraid of no temperamental teacher. I'm about to give Miss Karen a piece of my mind and maybe a little piece of her own medicine. Got my game face on, and Lily's about to drop some truth bombs on Ms. Karen. I stroll into that school, armed to the teeth with a report on Max's condition, photos of his progress, and the determination of 1,000 warriors. Found Miss Karen lurking in the hallway, looking more sour than a lemon at a pickle party. I don't waste no time. I go straight for it. No chat. Miss Karen, I say, we need to talk about what happened to Max. She looks at me like I'm a mosquito. She's itching to swat away. Real classy, right? I lay it all out. The report, the photos, the works. But instead of being reasonable, she turns into a raging bull. Tells me if Max has a condition, he can go trot his genius self to another school. Excuse me. What? Did she just imply my son, my brilliant little star, is a burden? Well, honey, that's when Mama Bear went from simmer to boil. I didn't hold back. Told her straight up that she can't throw chairs at kids just because they're a little different. But Ms. Karen, oh boy, she was stubborn. Told me she needed her students' undivided attention, like she's running a boot camp instead of a classroom. We exchanged some heated words, let's just say. But I ain't backing down. My kid deserves the same shot as any other. So, I marched my righteous self straight to the principal's office, report in hand, ready to drop some truth bombs about Ms. Karen's chair, throwing escapades. But what does the principal do? Sweet diddly squat. Brushes it off like I'm talking about a missing lunchbox. Well, that ain't gonna fly in Lily's book. If the school won't handle it, I'll take this matter to the top. So guess where I end up? The good old police station. I spill the beans, lay out the whole saga, photos, reports, and all. The cops, bless them, take it seriously. They roll up to the school like they're on an episode of some detective drama. I'm thinking, finally, someone's gonna put Miss Karen in her place. They grill her like a cheese sandwich under a hot press. And lo and behold, the truth comes oozing out. She's canned on the spot. Shown the door faster than you can say unemployment line. Justice, my friends, justice has been served. But hold your horses. The story ain't over yet. See, when you mess with Mama Bear, you better believe there's going to be consequences. The school might have turned a blind eye, but I brought down the hammer, and Ms. Karen felt the full force of it. Stay tuned for the aftermath because things are about to get real interesting in Lily's world. This story is about what happens when you have idiots, aka entitled people, dissect dead frogs, worms, owl pellets, and possibly shark. I was away during the shark dissecting day for church-related reasons. Again, this is during my high school years, about 16 or so years ago. If anything sounds off, it's due to what I can recall, and some parts may be left out from the actual incident. I'll make each incident its own post by pointing out the highlights or just what they say that caught me and my partner's ears at the time. Cast: me, Dragon Crystal, myself, and my best friend, Harley, cheerleader captain. Quinn, Harley's cheerleader friend, Mr. Ray, science teacher, dumbass class bully, and dummy class bully's friend. We were told about a week in advance about having to dissect worms and learned about their anatomy before the day arrived. Yes, we also did a review the day before and were told not to just poke around with the sharp scalping knife. Then came the day of dissecting, and Anna, my partner and good friend, has a fear of blood. So we made an agreement that if I get the worm this time, next time she'll have to get the frog. But I'll handle most of the cutting while she gives me instructions on where to cut so she doesn't pass out from the sight of blood, like a good friend would do. So I used the tongs and brought over the worm and sat down at our table, where Anna was sitting with our medical cutting utensils and our instruction paper. I'll admit, we didn't know which side was the head or the bottom and just eventually started cutting. While I did this, and we could hear Harley, Quinn, dumbass, and dumbag goofing around on the other side of the classroom. Harley: "You, it stinks." Quinn: "Yeah, I didn't think worms could smell this bad." She was making gagging sounds. Dumbass was waving their worm around saying, "Oh, look, a dead worm. Oh," and it must have slipped out of the tongue, go flying, and must have landed on Harley because she started screaming and acting like she was on fire, which Mr. Ray told them sternly to stop goofing around and start dissecting their worm. They eventually did and shut for a bit. Then we heard sweetly, "Mr. Ray, can you come and help us with cutting?" Mr. Ray sighs, but goes over to see whatever they needed help with because he's a teacher, and immediately Harley just started asking if he can help them cut through the skin because she and Quinn were having difficulty with making a small cut through the skin. By this time, I had finished pinning the skin, and Anna was going to move closer to start identifying the organs. Anna realized that there weren't blood and just chemicals, so she wasn't too scared. We could see out the corner of our eyes Harley and Quinn were acting like they didn't have the strength to slash through the skin of the worm. If anyone who has dissected a worm know, it's not too hard to get through, but we just ignored them and focused on pointing out the organs before calling Mr. Ray over to quiz us before we can finish. Then dumbass sneaks by and yelled loudly to startle us. We jumped and he laughed, saying loudly, "You're so jumpy, be careful not to cut yourself." He had overheard me telling Anna that I had a fear of sharp things, especially knives. But I luckily wasn't holding anything sharp and was using a pointer to point out which organ. Mr. Ray must have gotten annoyed of helping cut the worm for Harley and told them, "If I do most of the cutting, then it's going to get docked from your grade." Before walking away and started quizzing our other classmates who were waiting patiently to be finished, then when it was our turn, Harley interrupted Mr. Ray by calling him over to help them again. He walked halfway to them and just said, "You haven't even done anything since I walked away. Get going or you're both staying after class until you finish before coming back to me and Anna's table." We got a few organ wrong, but still got the other organ just fine and finished. We just walked back to our desk after carefully getting rid of the worm, and I just started reading my book while Anna did her homework. When we hear the juice squirt into my mouth, dumbass and dummy also poked at one of the organ and was also sprayed too. They jumped back so hard and nearly fell out of their chairs. This story, dear reader, has no good guy. Actually, the situation isn't black and white. However, one person in this story is arguably worse than the rest of us. I, 26 female, have two sister, 25 female and 24 female, the youngest one. Let's call her Jane. Has always been the most spoiled between the three of us. At the age of 21, I moved out of my parents' house to join the military, and my other sister, let's call her Claire, moved out at 23 when she was about a year into her nursing career. Despite having a college degree in business administration, Jane still refuses to get a full-time job or have any responsibility. Her life revolves around clubbing, partying, and going to the gym. To her credit, she did have a part-time job at our local coffee shop as a barista, that way she can fund her lifestyle. But other than that, she doesn't pay bills. My parents, mom, 52 female, dad, 57 male, pay for everything from her car to her cell phone bill and even her tollway when she drives around. Basically, everything a normal functioning adult would pay for themselves is footed by my parents because she doesn't have a career yet. I get it. I have a daughter myself, and I would do anything to make sure that she's taken care of, even as an adult. But there's the difference between financial support and straight-up coddling. I brought it up to my parents, specifically my mom, multiple times as to why she doesn't pay for her car, or at least her insurance, but she basically told me that she shouldn't suffer because of what our dad did. For some backstory, my sister was driving a used Honda around 2017, 2019. The car itself was fairly new when they bought it, so my parents had it financed and they gave it to my sister so she can get herself to school. Suddenly and without warning, my dad took my sister's car, traded it for a brand new 2020 Honda, even though it wasn't paid off. Now, my parents, specifically my mom, as she is the breadwinner, is stuck paying a brand new car and a car she no longer owns. Because of my dad's utter stupidity, my mom tried to make it up to Jane by buying her a High-Knee of the same year as her Honda. So not only was my mom paying for my dad's new Honda, my sister's old Honda, to which the balance was put on top of the new Honda, but the Hyundai as well. With that being said, my mom feels that she shouldn't make Jane pay for the car because of my dad. Because everything was literally handed to Jane on a silver platter. This has made her extremely entitled to the point that my parents are scared of her. For example, one time Jane had bought Cane's chicken the night before and left her leftovers on the table. My mom saw it and ate it. I just got discharged from the military, so I was staying at my parents' for a while until I saved enough to move out. So I saw my sister's reaction to my mom eating her leftovers. I had just got home from the store with my husband, 31 male, and my daughter, 1 female. As soon as we got home, Jane angrily asks me if I had eaten her leftovers. I told her I was just out with my family and we got lunch on our way back, so I couldn't have eaten it. Then she called both my parents, who were at church, and she then found out that my mom had eaten her leftovers. After that revelation, she started to yell and swear at them over the phone. Even after she hung up the phone, she kept swearing and yelling and slamming doors and cabinets. My poor daughter saw all of this and was quite frankly scared of her auntie at that moment. The following week, I was at work when I got an angry phone call from Jane asking her if I had been in her bedroom. I told her no because I was rushing to work. She hung up and I thought that was the end of it. After I got off work, my sister Claire called me and told me what happened. Jane called Claire complaining about how someone left her room open and one of the dogs had pooped in her room. This incident infuriated Jane to the extent that she stormed into our mom's room, where our mom was working from home and engaged in a professional phone call with a client. Jane's intrusion disrupted the professional setting as she loudly and vehemently berated our mom without any consideration for the ongoing business call. My dad apparently came into the room hearing all the yelling. Fed up with my sister's attitude, he angrily tells my sister that if she doesn't like it here, then she can move out, which pissed off Jane and she left the house. When I got home that night, I asked my mom why she continues to let Jane step all over her, even going as far as disrespecting her in her place of work. She says she's her mother and she's supposed to help her children the best she can, but I keep telling her that Jane needs adult responsibilities, otherwise she won't appreciate the things she has.